Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Finance Magnates Blockchain Podcast. Today we'll be starting something a bit new. As you all know, in November 14 and 15 is the Finance Magnates London Summit. And I will be hosting a panel about blockchain and cryptocurrency in the Forex industry. So I'll be having a series of interviews such as today with the members of that panel, and we'll be trying to flesh out the ideas ahead of that event, which I hope everybody is going to join us for that. Today's guest is Matt from Shift Forex. Good to see you, Matt.
Good to see you too, Avi. How you doing?
Doing good. So, let's start by please introduce yourself and explain Shift Forex, involvement with crypto.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So as you said, my name is Matt Miller. I'm one of the founders of Shift Forex. We started the company about 9 years ago with an eye towards kind of helping Forex brokers, if you will. So that originally started off as, targeting larger, more established brokers and exchanges. And we did a number of things in that space over the years, working with NASDAQ, Citadel, and other people coming into the space and larger brokers. And over that time, we also kind of developed what we call our Start a Broker program. So we basically help take our kind of consultative approach and help people launch Forex brokers. And so, what's happened over the last couple of years or even 5 years with cryptos is they become more and more popular. And so we have kind of built our own technology offering, trading platform, back office, and different tools for liquidity and such, so that you can now start your own crypto brokerage or crypto exchange. And so we feel like it's a nice complement and add on to our existing business, which, is really helping start brokers. And now not just, Forex and CFDs and metals, you can also do cryptos, all the cryptocurrencies, and offer that on a speculative trading basis, and also on a physical delivery if you want to just buy and hold Bitcoins or Ethereum or any of the other major coins that are out there. So we've really kind of launched this program over the last month or so, and we're obviously coming to the event. We'll have a booth there, and planning to talk all about that offering to the current participants in the FX industry.
Great. So let's get straight to it. Why should an existing Forex brokerage add a cryptocurrency platform or trading?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a question we've heard a lot, just because there's a lot of information out there about cryptos. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. A lot of people think it's great. A lot of people have differing opinions. But if you're an existing FX brokerage and you have kind of a captive audience, traders that are currently trading probably on MT4, what you've seen over the last few years is a decrease in margin or spreads, commissions, that kind of thing. Everybody just kind of undercuts each other because everyone's kind of selling the same thing. And MT4 and now MT5 are great platforms for FX, but I think it's a bit commoditized. Everyone is offering very similar products, right? If you add cryptos to your offering, I think the margins are. It's a new thing, right? So usually when a new product comes out, the margins are much bigger in the beginning stages. So I think if you're kind of a first mover or one of the first movers to get into offering cryptos to your current clientele, or just in general, you're going to see a much higher margin and ability to make money than you would if you're just starting up a traditional FX brokerage, which there's obviously still plenty of money to be made in FX, but the margin on a per trade basis in cryptos is much higher.
I see. Okay, and what would you advise a somebody that wants to get into get exposure to this market? Would you would you advise them to go with CFDs or so-called like physical cryptocurrencies? If you
Sure. Yeah.
if you say that.
I think it, for everyone's a little bit different in how they approach things. I think you can do a variety of things. I think that you could just offer physical delivery and the ability to buy a Bitcoin, like, and actually hold on to it, for the purposes of maintaining as an asset. But there's certainly lots of people doing that. Lots of things out there that'll allow you to do that. I think where an FX broker, it's really comes down to being able to offer the speculative trading, right, and the ability to buy and sell intraday and that sort of thing, rather than just buy a Bitcoin and hold. Although we are seeing a anticipated in people who just want to have the ability to buy Bitcoins, Ethereum, and such, and move it over into cold storage and hold it. But you could do all those things. I think what you're going to see is people offering a trading platform that's separate from MT4 over time. That's what we believe will happen, because it platform that's built to handle the needs of people who want to trade cryptocurrencies, and they are going to have those desires, like moving the coins off of the platform and into cold storage, which you can't do in MT4. But I think it's also interesting, if you have a captive audience that's in your MT4 product every day, then plugging in a CFD with for Ethereum or Bitcoin or what have you, offers a unique product that they haven't traded before. And I know that some of the larger brokers that have done that have seen a dramatic rise in volume on those pairs. I think there's a limited amount of real liquidity out there, so you have to be careful, when you're doing that. If you're just exposing yourself with a price feed, then you obviously have to have a pretty big balance sheet to handle the upswings and downswings in the cryptocurrencies that are going on. But we've actually been working on kind of we have the technology platform that I mentioned, but we've also been working on an aggregated CFD feed with some market makers here in New York, and so it'll offer the ability to have real leverage, real ability to hedge. So if you're a small broker or a larger broker, you won't have to worry so much about these huge swings because you'll have the ability to actually hedge and protect yourself by booking some of that flow to a larger market maker, so that you can kind of manage your risk a little more efficiently, rather than just offering a price out and hoping that things go your way.
Mm-hmm. But regarding leverage, like on a day with no news, Bitcoin can move up or down like 10%. Right. So how much leverage do you need, in order to make it attractive for traders? I mean, I think it's inherently volatile, no?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has been volatile. I think if you think people in FX have a bit of a short memory, but FX has been fairly volatile over a long period of time as well. We've had SNB isn't that long ago. So you see a lot of price movements. Obviously 10% is a lot. It's, I think, magnified in FX because you have much higher leverage that are available at this time. So you've got anywhere from 25 or 50 to 1 in some of the more regulated jurisdictions, upwards of 2, 3, 4, 500 still in other jurisdictions that are haven't put the rules in place to lower leverage, or aren't really sophisticated regulations. So you see a lot higher leverage in that space now. Right now with cryptos, what we're seeing is most of the exchanges that are out there offering like a real trading environment are offering about 3 to 1. The aggregated feed that I mentioned in our technology kind of facilitates a 10 to 1 leverage, but you're right, the price does move. But I think when you combine that with a lower leverage, I think it's a trading environment that brokers are used to seeing, and traders like still, because there's enough volatility there, for them to speculate. When you kind of combine the actual price movement with the availability to have some some leverage. And I think what we'll see over time is obviously as the market evolves, you're going to see that leverage number increase and become more and more attractive to FX traders. But I think, we've seen a lot of people trading it with the small amount of leverage that's available now. And I think that interest is just going to continue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And, we've seen trends before, right? We've seen,
Of course, yeah.
Algo trading and crowd trading and social trading, and the latest was binary options, right? And some of these things stick around, and they're still a viable trading option, trading instrument, but some have vanished. So what do you think is the staying power of cryptocurrency?
Well, I think all the things that you mentioned are essentially a kind of subset or sub-product of FX. They're kind of a derivative product that has evolved out of actually the desire to trade FX and trade currencies. I think cryptocurrencies to me really solve real world problems. They are across multiple industries. They're kind of the standalone thing in my mind, and kind of very different than algo trading or binaries or people wanting to trade the typical fiat currencies that have been around for a long time. There's a lot of benefits to the cryptocurrencies that have real staying power in my mind, and I think there's a lot of people talking about is Bitcoin is it a bubble and this, that, and the other thing, and that can be debated for sure, but the problems that cryptocurrencies and the blockchain are solving in the real world across multiple industries give it staying power. So, is Bitcoin going to be around in 10 years? I don't know, but I know that cryptos and I know that blockchain are, because big companies are coming in and investing in the space. New products are coming out every day. The ICO thing is a little crazy right now. I think that'll eventually be regulated, obviously, but you're going to see things stick around. The concept of an ICO, the concept of a cryptocurrency, the concept of blockchain, I think is kind of made it past that that kind of fad, if you will, and into it's going to stick around. And I think that's what's really happened over the last couple of years. 5-6 years ago, I think people were still debating, is this really a thing? And now it's still around. So it's been around for several years. So it's proved to some extent that it's not just a fad. A fad probably lasts a year or two, right? This is something that's going to stick around, and I believe in that because I see it solving real problems that exist in the financial markets.
Yeah. Now, I remember a few years ago, we had to publish like an explanation to our readers. Why are we covering Bitcoin at all? Because back in the days, we were Forex Magnates people, they didn't see it as a anything that would stay. They thought it's just a some joke on the internet,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
it's amazing to see the change.
Yeah.
So other than its staying power, do your clients, the forex brokers, what concerns do they have about adding crypto trading?
I think it's because of the mixed information that's out there. I think a lot of people confuse. They talk about blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency like they're all the same thing, and they don't always know the differences between there's maybe 10 to 20 coins that are probably the most popular, but there's hundreds of them out there. There's not a lot of good information where they can go and just have a trustworthy advisor on how they can go about doing this in a way that will work for the business, and so they need that someone to guide them through that. in my opinion. And I think the questions that we get aren't so much about like, is this something that I should be doing? It's more just how do I do it? How do I go from, being an FX broker or whatever my current business is, into getting into this crypto Bitcoin craze, without, losing a bunch of money, because, with it's not super regulated, and there's not a lot of, it's a new market. So where there's risk, there's big opportunities, obviously, but that's where you need someone that's kind of been in the space for a little while and then kind of knows what they're doing, to really kind of guide you through it. So I don't hear like questions like is Bitcoin for real anymore. I think people kind of that are interested in getting into the space know that it is, or believe in it. We're not less of the convincing people that cryptos is like a thing of the future. I think they kind of realize that that's what's happening. I mean, just the price of Bitcoin alone, it kind of, in a way, gives a lot of credibility to the growth of the industry. So less industry questions, more just like how does the platform work? What do I do? How does it work? How do I plug in my LPs? Things of that nature.
Okay, so let's get into it. If let's say I call you up and I say, Matt,
Sure.
I saw this crazy new thing, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I want to offer it. So what do I do? What platforms do you know that can work? Where do I get liquidity?
Sure. So I think the first thing I would probably do, because we've seen a variety of people come to us and say, I want to get into cryptos, and they're everything from a guy that's running like a completely separate business who isn't in FX at all, to a very sophisticated, large FX broker that wants to get into the space. So I'll kind of assume for our sake of conversation that you're kind of an established FX broker, been around for a couple of years, maybe 3, 4, or 5 years. You have a small team, and you target a certain region or with language skills and such, which I think is a fairly prototypical brokerage out there that wants a white label. So basically, what the first thing we would do is take you through how the platform works, the user experience, if you will, kind of the front end trading platform, and that would kind of show you all the different types of trading that you can do, within the platform as the user. And then the next step would be to kind of show you how the back office works, how you run your exchange, and all the different tools that are within that back office. So that gives you a pretty clear picture of day to day how your traders are going to come in on board to the brokerage, get all the KYC and such, fund their account, and then how you, as the kind of brokerage behind the scenes, manage those accounts. And then I think after that, obviously you have your liquidity decisions. And what most people do is they plug in some of the LPs that we've already have integrated into the system, and which kind of gets them off the ground. And as a technology provider, we'll be constantly adding new LPs to the system as they come online and things like that. So that's kind of the self-contained option, obviously, where you're running your own crypto exchange, not with a CFD option, with the kind of the ability to actually buy and sell Bitcoin. So you can either speculate, but you physically are buying and selling the cryptocurrencies. Then if you don't want to go that route, but I think most people ultimately will have to, because MT4 and MT5 are not built for cryptocurrencies. So there's going to be things that your prototypical cryptocurrency trader want to do on a day-to-day basis that they won't be able to do in MT4. So you just kind of have to you're gonna have to find a way to keep those customers happy, or they're gonna go elsewhere where they can find a platform that better suits their needs. And so but a good way to start, if you don't want to go the route of buying a white label and technology and back office and all those things, is you can just plug in the CFD liquidity and open up a few pairs on MT4 or MT5. And I think that's a good way to get started if you don't have a lot of capital, especially to invest in technology, and see if there's real interest from the people that are currently trading with your brokerage. What I know from being in the industry for a little bit is there's a lot of people out there that want to trade cryptocurrencies. And so I think, ultimately, most people will decide that they need to offer, have a crypto specific platform. But if that's not a feasible option for you out of the gate, then obviously the CFD liquidity is a good place to start. And we're starting to see and working with some LPs that offer not just Bitcoin USD. I mean, a lot of people have that out there now, but there's a lot of Ethereum, Ripple, Monero, on down the line, Dash, all these different coins that are out there are getting more interest, and people are wanting to trade them as well as like different crosses and things like that. People want to really dive into this space, and we haven't seen all that stuff hasn't been launched yet, and haven't seen too much beside Bitcoin USD. And I think we're going to start to see more and more of that within the MT4 platform, which will drive the growth of the separate trading platforms and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. It will be interesting if crypto trading will be the thing that wean the industry off of MT4, because a lot of people try to do that in the past and failed. But here's the technological limitations of it. Gonna leave it.
Well, I think you'll see. I think MT4 and MT5 will still continue to exist, and FX in general will still continue to be traded in substantial numbers on MT4 and MT5. I just feel like cryptos has become more mainstream in certain parts of the world, maybe even globally, than FX, and it's something that people are aware of, and it's opening up. New people are coming to that market that didn't trade foreign currencies before, so it's making the pie bigger for everybody in that sense. And I think so. It's not so much. I don't think that necessarily cryptos are going to cannibalize, FX trading on MT4. I think you're going to see a lot of new people come to the market too, and then they're going to get into cryptos and they say, oh, these other currencies, well, maybe I should try that out, and they might have both platforms as a user or a trader. I think that's very likely going to happen. It's just going to drive overall growth, kind of an alternative asset, trading. It's something that, because Bitcoin has a real world purpose in a lot of countries already, as a physical currency, they can understand it. They understand the value. They buy and sell things in it. And as that continues to expand, you're going to see more and more people who just want to trade it as well. And then once they get into trading, then they want to trade other things. And overall, it will, I think, create growth for FX industry participants as well, especially those that invest in getting into the cryptocurrency and industry now. So,
and you think we'll also see ICOs as something that brokers will try to add exposure to? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I never saw like a product or like a way to.
Well, you can't really
combine it into a trading system.
You can't really do one in MT4 right now. You don't have. I mean, MT4 is not a blockchain technology. It just doesn't have the capabilities. It wasn't built for that, right? There's another example of kind of why brokers will have to adopt crypto technology and blockchain technology to facilitate the needs of crypto trading is the ICOs. Right now anyone can kind of do one. It's a very gray area in terms of the regulation and legalities of it. So you see a lot of people out there doing it. You see celebrities getting into it and endorsing them. It's a little bit crazy, but it is a very interesting way to raise money for either a currency or really anything. And so I think what you're going to see is if a broker, whether it's now or later, wants to do an ICO and they have an audience of people who might be interested in investing in that coin, they're going to have the technology in order to do it. And I think you're going to need, like I mentioned before, it's that crypto specific technology for those users. And if they have the technology in place, then yeah, they'd be able to do it. The only thing that will evolve over time then is really the regulation, right? So they might have to follow some new rules or something in order to do one. But similar to when you have a new product or a new thing that you want to market in a regulated jurisdiction, a lot of that marketing collateral and such has to be passed by the regulator, approved or used approved language. You'll have to do that as well to do an ICO in the future. But first and foremost, you're going to have the technology in place to do it.
Right. And I guess this is the final question. Other than the cryptocurrencies for trading, where else do you see blockchain technology utilized in the future in the FX
Sure.
industry?
I think blockchains specifically, I think there's confusion between, Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, as I kind of mentioned before. They kind of lump them all together, right? So talking about, distributed ledger technology and blockchain specifically, where I see and just in our own business and with our customers and customers of our customers, I think one of the big issues that people face right now is banking, settlement risk, the fees involved in someone depositing funds into their trading account or withdrawing from their trading account, the speed with which those deposits and withdrawals take place. It causes there's a lot of costs involved. There's a lot of time lapse that causes people to get upset, whether it's a customer, an LP, the broker themselves, what have you. There's a lot of frustration in that kind of the operations, compliance, and banking side of brokerages. And the blockchain really, it cuts those costs out and increases the speed with which all that can take place. I really see blockchain specifically and some of the Ethereum and smart contracts being a way to kind of speed up the onboarding process, make it less painful for a trader, which I think will kind of increase the number of people that come into the space if they can kind of instantly sign a contract and fund an account within a few minutes, as opposed to taking days sometimes. They're more likely to trade and invest in different markets, and I think the blockchain could potentially solve that problem, as well as the different funding and settlement issues that people have with trading, with funding LP accounts, with processing deposits and withdrawals. You kind of eliminate a lot of those fees and waiting. Someone wires $50,000 to your brokerage to start trading. It's not sometimes a day to 5 days or more before the funds arrive. That's just not. That's not the world we live in today. People don't accept that type of wait time, right? I mean, if you go on PayPal or some of these e-wallets and you want to send money to your friends, you do it instantly. They have it right then, the minute you hit the button, and that's what people want. And I think that's what blockchain ultimately will be able to deliver for the financial sector, and specifically to the FX industry. And that's a big problem that the brokers face today that I think it will really solve. And obviously, more importantly, help them save money, which allows them to hire people and invest in other areas, as opposed to paying a bunch of fees to banks and things of that nature.
Definitely, payments is a
it's a big one.
It's a big. I mean, that was the original idea
we could do
behind
a whole
Bitcoin.
thing on that one just alone, Avi, if you want. So it's a big problem for all the brokers out there for sure. So
definitely. Also, credit card frauds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things it can help with in that space.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, it's chargebacks are a major issue. Trader comes in, they put in $1,000, they lose their $1,000, and so then they go and they do a chargeback or contest the charge on their credit card. You won't be able to do that with blockchain, right? You'll have evidence that it was all done, that they signed off on it, and the account was funded, and you can't just issue a chargeback. So I think you kind of eliminate that risk that people have with accepting credit card deposits, and that's a big one. That's a very big improvement from the kind of current infrastructure that blockchain solves.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like we have a lot more to talk about during the
Yeah,
panel.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I want to thank you again, Matt, for taking this time this morning on the East Coast of the U.S. to join us,
No
and
problem.
I want to thank our audience for for attending, and hopefully we'll see you all in London, November 14 and 15.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as well, Matt. Goodbye, and thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Abby.